Domain number 1, identification of the problem or conflict. Here's the problem. My gut reaction to this issue is that it would be a conflict of interest for me to interpret in this situation because I might not give an unbiased interpretation due to the fact that I just saw a horrific event that I witnessed which a deaf couple may have caused. And from what I saw, the deaf people probably did cause the car accident. I'm supposed to remain impartial and focus after seeing dead bodies that the deaf people may have caused. An issue is that the police have asked me to interpret, and I do not want to disrespect their authority. Another issue is that I need to give priority to the deaf individuals because I am an interpreter, even when I'm not working, and who knows how long they might be waiting for another interpreter. I'm qualified, I'm ready, I could give them what they need, and they could be on their way. I need to be putting the deaf client first. The CPC and the law helps guide my decision here. The ethical tenets that will guide my decision under the concepts of impartiality and my ability to provide the best work I can to create the notion that interpreters will do no harm. If I partake in this interpretation, I am opening myself up for violating the largest idea of the CPC, to do no harm. I am biased due to reasons that I have already explained, and I am also not completely focused on interpreting. I will be violating the CPC and causing harm. According to the law, deaf individuals need to have access to accurate communication. Will I be able to be that accurate and unbiased form of communications after I have been emotionally invested in the situation? Probably not. Here are some perspectives. On the deaf individual, they will want an unbiased interpreter. They have that expectations for interpreters. Also, will they be able to trust the ability or focus of an individual who just saw the car accident and gave a statement? There may be good reasons for why the accident happened and why they were on the wrong side of the road, and they will want to tell that side of the story to the police. They also might not want to tell their stories to the police, and like if they were drinking and driving, they might not want you to interpret. They might want you to wait and leave, let the alcohol wear off a little bit. That could be a possibility. They will also, whatever the situation may be, they will want to get away from the accident soonish and leave for the hospital or go home. They might not know that you have given a statement indicating they were driving on the wrong side of the road, in which case, what happens if they find out later? They will be feeling many emotions because they just went through a really serious accident. Perspectives on the interpreter. You just witnessed an accident that probably happened because of the deaf people driving in the wrong lane. You also just saw a dead body of a person and another person who was seriously injured. It is not required for you to interpret for that deaf couple. You would also probably be distracted while interpreting. I know that I would be. And also, a lesser note, how will you get paid from such an informal setting? There is no contract set up. This is very last minute and informal. The policeman might assume that you are working for free. Perspectives of the hearing or the policeman. They might not know that you have to pay for interpreting. They might assume that you're just doing it for free. They also might not know the legal procedure for getting the deaf folks the communication that they need. They'll also want to get the statements while the event is fresh in the deaf couple's minds. They also might not be aware of the CPC and the idea of a conflict of interest. They also might be aware of the CPC and just not care. Domain number 2, construction of decision or solutions. Throughout this process, I have thought of different outcomes or different decisions, which can be seen in my note. I decided on a course of action, which would be that I turned down the interpreting job, and I would give the police officers the number for my interpreting agency and help the process to them that they must go through to get an interpreter. Some key aspects of this decision is that there is no rush. The deaf people are not dying, and thus they can wait to be sure that they have an unbiased interpreter. What happens if you start interpreting and the deaf people find out that you gave a statement against them? How can the deaf people trust you are giving an unbiased and accurate interpretation? You may be able to separate your emotions, but how can the deaf couple know that you are doing that when they just met you? Trust has to be established. I would personally be all over the place if I just saw a dead person. I would not be able to focus or do the best that I could in a job like that. I do not have to take the job because I was not contracted, and I do not have any obligation to accept the job. I may also feel some resentment towards the deaf individuals, even subconsciously, because they probably caused the car accident that killed someone. I do not know the whole situation or the reasons why the deaf couple was on the wrong side of the road, but I know that I would be subconsciously biased. Some perspectives on the hearing or police perspective on the decision. As long as you state your decision to them in a respectful way, they should be understanding and also happy that you are helping them find a way to get the interpretation that the deaf couple legally, or the communication that the deaf couple legally needs. They might not even know that there is a problem with the confidentiality because they are most likely not familiar with the CPC. You've just given them information that will help them in the long term, which I'll talk about later, to know how to handle a situation like this. They might view you as responsible and being respectful of the law that would be best for the police. Their statement won't be, the deaf couple statement will not be thrown out in court because of having a biased interpreter. The deaf couple will also be happy that there wasn't an unbiased interpreter there. So the police officer will be happy and respectful to you for doing that. Some police officers could take this as you undermining their authority by not doing something that they asked of you and be angry. Some perspectives on the interpreter is that you would be fulfilling the CPC. You would not be put in a situation where you could get in trouble for the interpreting. You would not feel bad for not putting the deaf client first because in a way you still are putting the deaf client first. Even though you are not directly helping them, you are still working with the policeman to get the interpreter or the communication that they need. So in a way you are still putting that deaf client first because you are always an interpreter. You will also be able to deal with the emotions that you experience from the car accident and trying to separate them. Some deaf perspectives is that they might not be happy that they need to that they might have to wait for another interpreter. They also might be happy that you will not be interpreting because you are biased because of reasons that I have already talked about. Domain number 3, consequences of a decision or the solutions. In the short term, deaf people could be mad that they had to wait for an interpreter and they could say bad things about you to your friends. Deaf people may also be happy that you respected their deaf rights and you obeyed the CPC. The policeman may feel that you're being rude and give you a ticket for some technicality. The policeman may be so happy that you helped them that they get you a new interpreter and they give you a pat on the back or give you a donut. You will also be able to go home and deal with your emotions instead of trying to separate them. Long term, the couple might say bad things, harming your rapport. They might say good things, helping your rapport. The police officer might give you a criminal record. The police officer might let you off the hook if they catch you speeding in the future. And also, you will feel good knowing that you did not influence the interpretation even subconsciously. I think I made it. I made it.